Today I have Bill Sholette with me, the Level Product Manager. Hey, Bill, welcome back to my podcast.
Thanks, Bill.
And folks, we're going to do a series of application challenges here in 2021. So I invited Bill to talk to one of my most challenging applications that I see as a salesperson in the field, and that is foam. This is a tricky beast. And Bill and I have gone and talked about foam quite a few times in my time here with Eastern Controls and Endress+Hauser with Bill. And I wanted to invite Bill on the line and talk about that application challenge. And Bill, foam, tricky beast. Why is foam such a challenge for Level?
So foam has a lot of issues. The main thing is it tends to, for the traditional level measurement devices like ultrasonic and radar, it tends to absorb energy and it tends to scatter energy. Sometimes that results in a lost echo or lost signal fall, and you just don't get any kind of measurement. So what we do is we look at technologies that can handle foam better. But the first thing you have to ask is, are you trying to measure the top of the foam, or are you trying to ignore the foam? I've had applications both ways. I think you and I have had applications both ways.
Yes, we have.
Of course, the second question is this a continuous level measurement, or are you just looking for a high level measurement? And we can talk about some of those. But let's start with continuous. Ultrasonic is really very, very bad with foam. It will be absorbed. If there's even a decent blanket of foam, you're going to lose your signal. So let's go to free space radar. It's radar. It's a great technology.
Yeah.
It is better with foam, but you can still lose your signal in foam. So it will degrade the signal, and it can reach a point where you lose your echo.
That's where the free space, right? Okay.
Free space radar. Right. The technology that's probably best for foam applications is guided wave radar. Because the energy is focused, you don't have as much scattering, you don't lose the signal. Are you going to measure the top of the foam, or are you going to ignore the foam? And the answer to that is it really depends on the foam. If it's a light, bubbly foam, you're going to tend to ignore it and just measure the liquid, even probably up to about a medium density. As you get into the higher densities, especially with a water-based foam like a sewage treatment or whatever, then you're going to start to measure the foam because the density will be so high it will look like the liquid itself. The good thing, though, is you're not going to lose your signal. One way or another, you're going to continue to make a measurement. It's not going to drop out on you like it could with a free space radar.
Okay.
Now, if you really want to measure the foam, you want to measure the entire level of both the liquid and the foam, one of the best technologies is good old capacitance. The capacitance transmitter will look at that electrically as the same. The foam is the same as the liquid, considering it to be a conductive foam, and it'll measure it, and it'll give you a really nice measurement of the foam level, total level. But you can't ignore it. So if you're saying, well, I want to measure it sometimes, I want to ignore it, it's going to measure the foam. That's what it's going to do.
So can you do a combination between like a guided wave and a capacitance to maybe measure one of each?
You could do that. You could have two wave and a capacitance. Again, with the guided wave, depending on the density of foam, you may get the same measurement as the capacitance.
Okay.
What I can do, and I've done this often, is I use a capacitance transmitter, continuous capacitance, to measure the total level of the foam, and then a pressure transmitter to measure the liquid level, because the foam, being mostly air, is going to have very little weight contribution to the total head pressure. And you measure pretty much just the liquid itself.
Okay.
So another good way to measure liquid under foam is float technologies. The float's not going to float on foam. It's going to sink down to the liquid level. Magnetostrictive floats, standard floats, float and tape, even servos, which is not a float, it's a displacer, but you could use a servo to measure the liquid level under the foam. So there's a lot of ways to do this. We just have to know what we're getting into and what you're trying to do as a customer in your facility, what you want to measure, liquid or foam or both.
So let me ask you a question there, Bill, because I think, again, I show my little visual here, and oh, that's really cool. You can see it, right? But what I've found with you and working with you is when we ask that question to a customer, a lot of times they really don't know, right?
That's right. A lot of times they don't know, they don't or they know they may have foam, but they don't know how much.
Mm-hmm.
Foam applications where you have a little, little foam on the surface of the liquid. Pretty much any technology is going to be able to handle that. I've seen foam where you had 6-7 feet of foam, and that's a whole different story, obviously. So you have to really know what's going on. And sometimes it's a little bit of a science experiment to start out until you figure out exactly what you're trying to do and what you're getting in the application. And a good application to throw out would be in bioscience, where you have a fermenter.
Let's go to applications, Bill. Let's talk about some application for foam. Go ahead.
So fermenters, that's a typical one. We do this all the time. You've got the liquid, and typically the liquid is put in at a specific level, and it stays there as the microbes grow, right? Well, as the microbes grow, they produce carbon dioxide, which produces foam. And if you get too much foam on the surface, the first thing that happens is you don't have a good oxygen transmission, and the microbes die, which is you're trying to keep them alive. The second is you're pulling off that carbon dioxide. So as the foam builds up, it can get up into the vents, it can foul the vents, and it can ruin the whole batch. So in a patient like that, what I've done almost always is used a capacitance point level switch, and just put the point level switch at a high level where they want to detect the foam. And then when the foam hits that point, they spray in defoaming agent, knock the foam down, and they're good to go until it comes up again. So that's an application we do foam level all the time with the point level capacitance switch. Very, very effective, pretty much bulletproof. Trying to think of some other foam applications.
How about one that's dear to a lot of us guys and gals out there, because in this this time of COVID, right? They say that beer sales are going way up. So so how about foaming with beer? Have you ever attacked that one, Bill?
Well, yeah. I mean, foaming with beer isn't quite as critical because you do have the yeast, but it's not as it's not the same as a bioreactor. But if you're trying to measure the liquid under the foam, guided wave is a good way to go. You can run into some issues with the heavier beers like stouts and things like that that have really dense, almost like a mousse-like foam. You'll tend to measure the top of that. So that's something you can do. One of the neat things we've done in recent times is we've added technologies to our transmitters to help us determine what the foam is doing. We have something called heartbeat technology, and we have a way to monitor the signal strength. So what happens if the foam increases, your signal strength decreases. And you can set a threshold to say, okay, if my signal decreases to this point, I'm still making a measurement, but I want to be alarmed to that to know that there's foam present, and then maybe I can take corrective action. So that's something we do now too. And again, it really comes down to what do you want us to do with the foam? Are we measuring it? Are we not measuring it? Is it point level? Is it continuous? And then we go from there and try to determine the best technology to make that measurement. I've had customers use ultrasonic in that application because when they lose the signal, they know they have foam present, and they use that to alarm them to put in defoaming agent.
All right, cool. Hey, Bill, you know what? I think the message today, again, was foam, it's a tricky beast.
Absolutely.
I think every person that's watching this video, whether it's a customer or fellow salespeople, fellow product people in the business, should say, hey, you know what? Always ask the application when you're going over a level application. Say, hey, is this product foaming? And if it is foaming, now you've got a series of other questions they ask, and it's a tricky beast. So, yep. Bill Sholette, yep. I think we're good, man. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking, chatting about foam. And folks out there, thanks again to Bill Sholette for joining me today for my podcast. And reach out to us at Easter Controls. You have a level application, level challenge. Remember, level is, as Bill always tells me, level is a science. It's not a black and white solution, so it's a science. So reach out to us and let us help you figure out and give you the best technology solution.